Thank you so much again for inviting me. And I'm always happy when a woman invites me to a podcast or a workshop, and I never say no. Why? Because as you said, Laila, we don't have many women. So if we start saying no, it's never gonna happen, and we're never gonna be a role model to others to jump into it and work with us to grow this part. I've been working for the last 20 years, so it's kind of it feels sometimes as a long time. But what makes it feel longer is I have been in innovation for the last 20 years. I know that when we say innovation, people think always about the latest news, about the latest hype, about the latest things that you've seen on Forbes or you heard on CNN or whatever the channel is. But I've been doing innovation for the last 20 years. So when I jumped first, I started with car manufacturing with Japanese brand Nissan. When we started putting the first cameras 20 years ago. For the one who have been driving like me for ages, you will understand that was a novelty at that time. And with all the captors and everything, that was something new. We had to understand the technology to put it on, to explain it to users and so on. And then I moved to EdTech. So EdTech is education technology. So like 18 years ago, I jumped into it when nobody knew what digital learning was. And we started building platforms. We started building models of learning, pathways, and so on. And in the last 5 years, I have dedicated my time and my resources to work in the AI and the blockchain. Why the AI and the blockchain? Because today I can say that it's kind of start working together. 20 years ago, not much. 20 years ago, the blockchain was not an infrastructure that we could support the change and the shift. And I will explain during my presentation and why the AI has been already, for the last 20 years, I've worked with algorithm because AI is an algorithm. If you have studied mathematics and statistics, this is what it is. We're building models based on hypothesis, on algorithmic response. And now we can definitely say that both are working together. And thank you, Leila and Safa, for inviting me. Today, I will touch upon the smart cities and the blockchain. And when I talk about blockchain, that means that we have an underlayer of AI agent or AI models based on LLMs, learning models. So this is like the next 13 minutes will be around the slides I have prepared today. But later on, after I finish, please hold your question. You can also drop them on the chat, and then we can discuss this. And I think that will be the part that I enjoy more, because I'm not a lecturer, but I like to engage with people and answer the questions, or as I say, explain it to my mom or my kids, what the smart city and a blockchain can do for you. So let's kind of get started with the first part. I tried to be very, not dive in too much, because I didn't know if everybody knew what blockchain was or what smart cities concept was. So I tried to kind of give the highlight of it. And then during the conversation, we can kind of go over all the details. So here's my screen. I hope that everybody can see my screen. Yes?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Wonderful. So let's get us started. When we talk about smart city, and I'm not going to the blockchain yet, what do people think? They think that it's kind of something very cartoonish, like, oh, everything works by itself, everything is there, but we're not there yet. It's just the beginning. We're like at the baby steps, because what I want you to know is there are 7 pillars to a smart city. People talk about it in general, but from my knowledge, from my perspective, from what experience, we do have the IoT. So everything that is urban nervous system, you know, like your brain, you have a nervous system yourself to say, I need to move my hand. Well, we have something like that related to the cities, right? And that's this kind of system. Today, there are passive sensors. So like the lights, the traffic light, all this deployment of these edge devices that collect and analyze the data in real time today, with the 5G and maybe the 6G coming in the next 2 years, was not possible like 3-4 years ago to the capacity of today. So we talk today about having this data and predicting maintenance for infrastructure. We know that, for example, in the next 6 months, the light, for example, let's say, take Paris, next to the Eiffel Tower will break, because that's what an IoT nervous system knows and will kind of predict and adapt the traffic related to that. So they will give you something related to it in order to work on it. That's the first thing. So think of it as like the nervous system or your brain. And then you have the AI. The AI is the decision of the engine or the model that you're plugging into to crunch all this data. Because if you take like a data of 1 month, you know, between the light, the noise, the what you call it, not the noise, oh my god, the weather, the pollution, and the traffic light, for example, and the traffic within, for example, next to the Eiffel Tower for a month, believe me, it's like a big chunk of data. Like literally, people can kind of like see, like if we have to see it in rooms or volumes, I would probably say it's the equivalent of, let's say, a third of Burj Al Khalifa. So if to give you a little bit of understanding, and that data needs to be cleaned, need to be talking to each other, and need to be put in a model to be, you know, kind of understood and predict things. Otherwise, it's just data for the sake of it. The third part is the data as an infrastructure. People talk a lot about swimming in data. Do you know that 2.5 quantum million bytes are done daily? That's kind of like a big number for people, but you have to see it in terms of, I always say 2 billion doesn't mean anything, but in terms of volume, that's like 10 times the Burj Al Khalifa in terms of high. So that's a lot. And where do we store it? What do we make out of it? How do we use it? Do we clean it? So these are all the questions that when you build a smart city, you know, based on this foundation, you really are a smart city, not just by name, but by infrastructure. The other force is the connectivity. So the backbones today is the 5G. But again, we need to kind of think of the 6G. Why? Because the latency, with 5G already we have is like, oh, the bandwidth, the low latency sometimes of informations, you know, a lot of this is happening. It's kind of like, think of it as like traffic, like, you know, it's buffering. But if we have a full capacity in terms of the backbone to connect, then it's super quick, it's instant. All the information are received in no time, and their answer is in no time. Then comes the blockchain. So from my perspective, I think the blockchain is the heart, because it's the strength, the trust, and the transparency. Why? Because it's data related. We are in a world today of data sharing. Everybody, you share your data, you click yes for any cookies, for anything, guys. That means that you are the product, you are the heart of the product, and you can be manipulated anytime, any moment. And with the blockchain, we provide the security and the immutability of it, which means that you know where your data is going, you know how this data is used, and you can give your approval on yes or no. So this is kind of like maybe one of the most important part. And when it comes to the smart city, for the critical urban system, it can be projected that we can have 67 billion into the market in terms of data, in terms of, you know, growing this transparency around every product that is available. Remember that every application you have in your phone is a data that is built around you. So the blockchain transparency and trust is one of the most important in the next 20 years. We need to build this awareness about our own data. We keep talking about it, but not everybody really kind of care about looking at all the cookies and all this information. One of the other part, the fifth part, is like the digital twins. We know that we have been hearing about digital twins. Why the digital twins are very important? Because when you build, let's say, a digital twin of yourself, right? When you're running, if you're an athlete, or even you as a person, let's say that I'm Yasmina, I have my digital twin somewhere. I can run simulation on if I have to lose weight to up to 30%, how does that work? If I have to, sleep 10 hours more than usual, what will be the simulation? So having a twin allow let's say an experimental testers before putting it on a real ones, and that gives you an understanding of how my organs, my systems, my brains will function. It's the same for a city, so it's kind of like the same approach. And the last but not the least is the robotic side of it. I mean, we've been talking about robot, about all, what Elon Musk have been building in terms of, even Boston Genetics have been doing such things. But today we don't have them freely yet. We don't have like yet free driving cars, or we have like, can structures, a robot. They always kind of in some framed premises. We don't let them out because they're not fully ready. But imagine, I don't know, so how many of you have watched, for example, the movie of Will Smith, AI robot? How many robots we can have in the street that can do the traffic, that can kind of help kids, cross the road next to the schools? All this kind of little task that seems to be still humanized can be robotized at some point, and they are just like small little ones. Then we goes after finding out that we have these 7 pillars that are building the smart city. We do have the advantage of a blockchain for governing cities. To govern a city, you need to understand few approach of it. And from my experience, again, because everyone can give different perspective, from me, the increase of transparency and connectivity in the cities can be like major players here. Why? Because using the blockchain can be a vertical that in terms of service that can help the mobility, the energy, the security, with one open gate, accessible and transversal system. Think of, again, you just turn on your TV, wherever you're leaving, you have the equivalent of like a multi-channel. So you kind of go to your phone providers and they give you the SIM card. At the same time, they give you a bundle of service with all the internet and also all the TV channels, right? How easy is that? That's the same things in smart cities. You need to have one connecting point. You don't need to have 30,000 applications and going from one part to another. You just kind of have this bundle transparently there showing you what you can use. And the point with the blockchain is it's transparent because the data is on chain. It's not centralized with Google. It's not centralized with Meta. It's there to be seen by anyone who wants. So nobody can manipulate this data. Nobody can change it. And that's one of important things, because when we're talking about mobility, we know exactly on chain in times how much trains have run. So the company cannot lie to you and say, yeah, no, we have been having 100% capacity. No, you had 80% and 20% were like train who kind of missed or have some management problems. Same things with energy. If it's on-chain, this on-chain means that it's available for everybody, means that we know exactly where we're wasting energy. If you don't know where you're wasting energy, then you don't really know, how you can kind of work and be environmental friendly. The second part is the direct communication. Blockchain makes it possible for government departments. So you have so many departments. You have the energy people, you have the security people, you have the waste guys, you have the environments and like gardens people, the one who are looking after the gardens, looking after the trees or whatever you have in the city. And the point is that they interact digitally. And with all this double intermediate, third part, fourth part, like plugging in API, like think of it as a CRM. They all look at the same dashboard and the IP in the back is all flawless. Otherwise, what the most important part is, these people, everyone has his own CRM and everybody's sharing something, but none of them are connecting. And if you cannot connect, then it's chaos. It's too much noise. It feels like the souk, the market. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm at a clinic and nobody's talking. So this is what we are talking when we're using blockchain. The other part is integrity over information. The key things, as I said, in the last 5 years when I moved to blockchains industry, is because I always believed in the integrity of the blockchains as a technology, because nobody can manipulate anything if it's open to everybody. And with the integrity of the information, when we share it on chain, this technology is possible to encrypt, which means that you can partially or usually kind of have access to it or look at it. It can be secure and privately owned. At the same time, it doesn't kind of we get stored in a place that nobody can see. What I mean by that is when we compare, let's say, Google or Meta or any social media platforms versus a blockchain, the information are visible. They are encrypted, of course, when needed. So not everybody can have access to this information unless they are requested and they are vetted and so on. But that means that when you see someone using your data, you can trace it, you can track it. We're like with Meta or, with Facebook or like Google, you cannot do that. So you don't know what they're doing in the back with your data. You have no clue. And that's the danger of it. The fourth part is efficient management. So as I said, the blockchain allows the public and the city official to know the origin and destination of every resources. If you have it on chain, there is no waste, there is transparency, there is efficiency and performances using that. And many times we do not have this performance because systems do not talk to each other. So the gardening team do not talk to the waste team. So they don't know what are the schedules, why they kind of put the trash on, either they pick up the trashes, usually on Mondays, and the guys come on Tuesday. So you kind of have like this communication and non-efficient management because people don't talk to each other. And if you have the blockchain, that means that the information that they are sharing are interoperable, which means that they come together and they can move from one piece to another. So that's the beauty of using a system that is universal. So I always give this metaphor when I travel in terms of blockchain interoperability is whichever hotel I go from Tokyo when I go, or if I go to Abu Dhabi, or if I go to Tunis, or if I go to New York or London, or if I go to Casablanca or anywhere in Latin America like Buenos Aires or Peru, I need only one cable to plug in for my computers and my phone. I don't need adapters. I don't need a lot of other things. So this is the efficiency of having one interoperable system that plugs everybody in the back. Second, this, when we talk about it, that's fantastic. These are like all the nice words, but how do we build that? So why interoperability will be crucial? Because it has 3 layers. And these 3 layers are based on business models. So the governance model, you have DAOs, decentralized autonomous groups that kind of have a voting system. Like think of it as like a parliament. The data standardization, again, when we have all this data that comes from one part and that doesn't talk to the other one, this is like the business aspect of you reading all the data at the same time and it kind of talk to each other. So that makes sense. I'm not talking like, one data is in Chinese and the other one is in Spanish, in kind of a matter of speech, and they don't kind of get together. So they are clean, they are standardized, everybody has the same things. Commercial models are clear for the smart cities. So when we say this is what we need, these are the KPIs, and this is the performance, it does make sense. Fourth one is the legal framework. Of course, we need to have a framework that kind of put all this data, all this information, all this governance together in order for the smart cities infrastructure to run properly. If you don't have any legal framework, then everyone can do whatever they want. Nobody can sue everybody, or nobody can kind of oblige anybody to follow some rules, and that's also important. The second part is the platforms. We need to have a consensus mechanism for all this dashboard, all this information from different platforms to come. So the energy comes together, the waste teams comes together, the traffic people come together, the security come together, and they have the same mechanism. So they see the same data at the same time, and they look at the smart contract that are on the blockchain. Smart contract doesn't mean that they have a contract together, but the data on chain is a smart contract by itself. So that's a block of information that everybody look at it at the same time. And of course, when they kind of authenticate and authorize this access to the data, it's kind of standardized, and they have it happens at the same time. This is fraction of seconds that, oh, the light there is kind of wrong, and we see suspicious people coming, and there is like a blocking, trains or whatever at this area. So that might create like, a panic, or might create like too much traffic. So at the same time, when you have all this element of the city talking to each other, the resolving of the problem is instantaneous, instead of taking like 3 hours or 4 hours. Infrastructure. So again, when we're looking at the smart cities, many people think about, only putting it on the cloud. So the fact that you're putting it on interoperable blockchain, that means that you have hybrid. You may have a usual AWS, Azure, or Microsoft, like, cloud, but you could also put it on decentralized structures within the blockchain. And infrastructure, when we talk about blockchain, the blockchain can be the biggest piece to manage all this data and all these models. And the proprietary components in terms of IP, who does it belong to, in order to kind of join venture it in the back. So I wanted also to kind of, based on all this kind of explanation and this boring approach, I wanted to kind of talk about what are the trends, or what are the things that you need to watch out during the 2025, even beginning of Q1 2026. So we have the urban planning prioritization in terms of health. The health of people is one of the most important facts. Why? Because you can see that big cities such as Shanghai, London, Paris, they kind of take this seriously. Why? Because of the physical and the mental health of the citizen, because they need to use sensors, to monitor the pollution and the noise. People kind of get stressed. The pollution can take them to the hospital. So then that means the rate of admission at the ENA can get higher, right, with kids and so on. So this is where the health comes, not the daily health of your security, but in terms of really how we can kind of make the environment more friendly, with less noise, with less kind of pollution, anticipate rather than, kind of get impacted. So that's one of the most important parts. The second one is the smart mobility. Smart traffic management and advanced transportation can be like, let's say it life-changing, and it's very important. Why? Because I'll give you a very simple example. I was in the south of France last week. I was at this big event that is called ETH-CC in the south of France near Cannes. And they had like this big event, 2-3 days of events, side events, 250 side events and so on. So people came from the whole world to attend. I was speaking there, fantastic. I made it on Tuesday morning, and I was supposed to leave on Wednesday evening. Never had any update on my mobile from the city itself, from transportation, whatever. I had some issues with the train, because going from one city to another, think of it of like maybe from the Gulf region is going from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. So I'm taking the train because I was like, okay, there is no, there is like after half an hour, no Ubers, no taxi. Nobody told me why. It's because there were like an accident on the road. That's one. The heat wave was like killing all the cars. Third, the trains were delayed because the heat wave kind of damaged some of the air conditioning in some trains. So they had to kind of go through this. So imagine from the mobility point of view, having thousands of other people having the same issue as me, create like, challenging problems for the train systems or the mobility systems for the citizen of the city itself, plus the tourists, plus the people who are kind of visiting for work and so for business trips. So it should be running smooth rather than challenging. The digital twin. The digital twin, I already kind of mentioned it, but why now it's kind of more important is because Helsinki, Dublin, and Singapore have been expanding on that like big time. Why? Because they know kind of try to have the models in terms of mobility and health. As I explained earlier, this is one of the integration they are trying to put, and they also kind of working on the cost optimizations of the energy and the mobility, because the waste, and that's the commitment they have made to the citizens and to also to the city smart project they are working on. So cost efficiency, in terms of energy waste and in terms of waste in general for the household and retails and so on. They are kind of like smaller city than London or New York or Paris, but still, I mean, Singapore like is particular because it's a country with itself. But for Helsinki and Dublin, they're really trying to lead the way. So then this kind of be scalable elsewhere. So this is the importance of the role of digital twins more than ever, right? And then you have the AI, artificial intelligence in urban management. I think by managing the energy, the water, the traffic in real time, it's a lifesaver for the city itself, for the citizen, for everybody, because the costs are high for the city itself to kind of have light everywhere when you don't need them. Water, like, you know, when you're spending water in some places, like, let's say, and people are not there, or like, you know, having, let's say, infrastructures running for some energy in terms of parkings lots, and they're not used, like malls. After what, midnight? There is nobody in some parkings and some malls. So sometimes you're like, guys, why don't you, you know, turn off the energy? Why don't you kind of cut the water so there is no waste in any toilet or any bathrooms or even in the fountains? Why do we need to keep this energy? You know, these little things can kind of be bigger, can have bigger impact in terms of cost saving than anything else. And this is just one small more in a small city, right? So imagine in most capitals, you have more than 20 malls on average. And digital identity and citizen engagement. I think that's my favorite, because from my perspective, the digital identity verification system is essential. Why? Because we all use electronic devices today to kind of identify on anything related, from facial recognition, from like checking into your paying your bills, getting your household sorted with your local council and so on. So for me, it's kind of like I pay my tax directly online. I get all the application and permits and everything online. So imagine that my city can get smarter and get me my digital identity related to me. So then they customize it. And this could be like, you know, in terms of promoting the rest of the services, they reduce their cost, but they customize it in order for me not to receive non-relevant social benefit or social request. Like if I have only kids that are now 18 and over, you don't need to kind of put me on your data. So you have the minimum knowledge of my identity and my household. So you would only customize, like think of it as a Netflix. You know me, you know what I watch, you know what I am, how many people we have in the house. So you don't need to kind of suggest to me anything unrelated to my needs. And this is, from a digital perspective, a performance in terms of profiling itself. Why? Because you are not just reducing the cost, but you're really customizing every household relating to that, if that makes sense. And I'm more than happy to kind of, engage on this, because this is part which I think that it's going to really grow and spark in the next 5 years. The benefit of a blockchain technology, again, security-wise, how many of you have been hacked? Or even, we have banks who have been hacked, airlines who have been hacked, big platforms have been hacked. So come on, guys, we need to kind of look at the blockchain as one of the most important part in terms of distribution of information. So instead of having my data in one centralized place, I have it in different islands, like let's say and then to kind of get my data, you have to hack them all at the same time, the islands, and it's not feasible yet until we have quantum AI. That's another story. In terms of blockchain benefit, we have the efficiency. Technology of the blockchain can reduce the need for intermediate. As I said again, it's kind of like having one process, one transaction, and one cost efficiency toward one data standard. We don't need to kind of overdo one thing, one language, and that's it. Imagine that the whole world speaks Arabic or English. You don't need to kind of, have millions of translation. Everybody will understand you from Tokyo to Hawaii. That's what blockchain efficiency in terms of language is important. And again, I'm never going to repeat it again. enough is the transparency, because if you are voting or you are doing any IPs on anywhere, you have the transparency to know that everybody can see you. You're not the product anymore. You start sharing this information with them. So whoever is taking your data, you can rent it out. You know what they're going to do with it, and then you can request to kind of have like a report on it, rather than say, I know they're using my data, but what can I do, right? Well, you can complain. You can ask them to pay you. You can ask them to rent your data, because that's what blockchain will bring later. Beyond the transparency, people need to be aware that you can rent your data. We can ask. I'm currently, kind of like lobbying for to create a quantum models, like, for the big companies to pay us, from pharmaceutical, healthcare to entertainment. So instead of me paying, Netflix, I pay my Netflix, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, I have dividend, because if they have used my data to make their model better, then I need to have a dividend on it, because I contributed, right? If I want to share my data, then they have to pay me back, right? So this is the kind of things. It's not like, oh, they can use it. No, I allow you to use it, but please do pay me. That's one of the most important part. The right blockchain. When we talk about the benefit of blockchain technology, when we want to start implementing, we need to talk about the right blockchain. Not all the blockchain. We do have 78 or 79 blockchains. Not all of them do smart cities or do application related to smart city. So you need to curate the blockchain you want to use, right? And then test. Obviously, whatever you're doing, make sure that you are testing it like the digital twin. Test it on the blockchain, test in sandbox, and then evaluate and adjust. So these are the major 3 steps that I always recommend. Whatever blockchain, whatever smart project we're trying to push, let's try to understand these 3 steps, because if you don't do them right, then you're not kind of doing it the right way anyways. So I think that's kind of give the biggest biggest picture. And then the risk and the challenges. The risk associated with smart cities is, again, back to the data, means cybersecurity. And the more you have data, the more you're going to have attacks. The more centralized it is, the more you can kind of hit the head, and then you can kind of crack it and get to the headquarters to get this data and cybersecurity wise. And nobody can tell you I have the best cybersecurity, because today, as long as it's centralized, it's one door that you need to crack. And you know what? If you have the capability to do it, it will crack at some point. We have seen the best in-house today, and they always get their Google, like a few days ago, got Google or Microsoft, I can't remember, had a cybersecurity problem. And they are the biggest. And you see, they had a breach, and they said it's small, because it's not transparent, but so far we don't know the damage that has been done. So that's why smart city need to run on blockchain. Decentralized platforms will help avoid such problems. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to me. And I am more than happy to share anything or kind of get any questions so far related to this presentation. Over to you, Leila, if you want to take it from here.
Thank you, Yasmin, so much. That was very much, enriching all of us. And now I'm going to leave it for everyone to ask questions. If there's no question, then I will ask. So we're going to also check the messages, and we also leave it for them so they can speak about it. Anyone have questions? No questions at all. So Yasmin, my question to you, because you are a woman starting in blockchain and AI, what were the main challenges for you as a woman? So let us, just having this, let me say, friendly talk, because as we said, we don't have a lot of women in this area, because most of the time when we speak about technology, we can find hardly women. So, one of the things that I really need to ask you, what were the challenges of Yasmin that let her succeed to reach this level?
Thank you so much. Very relevant question in the context of innovation in general. And I would probably say that the biggest challenge I faced was to be a woman. And not, like, it's not an easy word to say, but yes, in a male-dominated industry, such as blockchain and AI, out of 100 men, you will have one woman. And when you check this woman, you find her coming from Western country, mostly 99% America, so USA, or UK,
Exactly.
or Germany. And on the top of that, if you look at this one woman who came, she either came from MIT or Oxford or Cambridge. Like, this is the only place that a smart woman can come from, right? No.
Totally agree with you.
No, we don't need to go to this Ivy Leagues. I am not criticizing the Ivy Leagues. My parent could not afford it. I am originally from Algeria, and I could not afford to go to Ivy Leagues. But I am as smart as someone who come from an Ivy League. Why? Because
Well, are you from Algeria? I never thought that you are from Algeria.
Yes, I am. I am Algerian, and I was born and raised. And then I kind of, got a job from Nissan. I got headhunted even in Algeria to work from them. So that's why I'm saying, if you love what you do, you master what you do. Don't do it half. Don't bake half a cake. Go full cake, because you will get noticed. People will see you, and you have to fight through. And then you have to prove yourself. I remember my first time coming to Dubai was in 2004, when Nissan offered me the job to be the head of their network to open in Africa. And obviously, as a woman, I came to the office and I was the only one. I was the only woman.
Okay.
And basically, the only other women were like assistants to the directors, or like, the lady of the kitchen or the cleaner. And there is nothing wrong with that. But they did not see my value as that. And they were looking at me like, how did you get the job? And the same things that I have done my whole career is, how did you get it? Who do you know? Well, I know nobody. And I am what I am. And I can explain to you what I can do for you. Let me prove it. The problem, as you said, is the second challenge is, when you are a woman, you have to work twice as hard as a man to prove it. Because when they sit with a man, they never ask him, don't ask him to prove it. They don't challenge him. With a woman, they challenge me. They ask me to prove what my point and fight for my point. Well, like in board meetings, people do not challenge another man. It's like, if he says the sky is green, well, yeah, and then we can turn it yellow later. But if I say that, how can you do that? Why is it? So I have always to get prepared, come prepared twice. And I do remember when I started, in the board meetings in the blockchain, and I was among other gentlemen. It was a very nice way to kind of prove the point again. It's like, but you don't know. And instead of backing off and saying, why do you say that? I was like, maybe you don't know. So again, the challenge from a woman perspective is to stand out. You have to build this self-confidence and strength to make sure that you're not bullied. Because let me tell you that beyond all the smartness that we can have, many women get bullied in a gentle way or not, but I cannot judge for everything, to kind of, not be capable. I remember many times, and I'm sure that many women here have similar experience, when I come with an idea, I explain it, and then people look at it, digest it, and then they are all guys, all male, and then someone else turn it into another speech. So he kind of take my narrative and do it in his own speech. And people are like, oh, Brian has a very good idea. Guys, it was mine. It was mine. I started
exactly.
You see? So
this is exactly, totally agree with you, Yasmin. And this would remind me when it comes even to any leadership position. Because every time we are asking the same question, although we have some good women in technology, but we never find women in, let me see, a leading position. Because And because I applied to some of these, let me say, high-ranking jobs. And every time, I'm speaking to people that I need to join your companies, you know what they will tell me? Layla, I'm really afraid that you might not be able to survive here, because if you are going to join this job, you're gonna lose your social life. But the thing that, the men that they don't know, that the women are multitasking, because we take care of our houses, we take care of, our work, we take care of our social life with the other communities and so on. So women are really multitasking, with all my respect to the men here, but, every time they suspect that we can lead it. So now we are having, let me say, opportunity. And as you said, Yasmin, that most of the women, they will always, because, even when it comes even to our cultures, Yasmin, we are coming from the same culture. Most of the women, they are so much good. And women, they will come to me and they say, Layla, we need to be like you. And I say, believe me, you are better than me, but you need to trust yourself and just break that, let me say, fear, so you can go overcome it. And that's why, recently we have, launched an initiative. We call it Women Future Cities, where we can empower more women so they can break their fear and be speakers, because they are actually experts, but they always, afraid to go and present in front of the others. And when people are asking me why it's Layla for women, and I say, because most of the women are feeling shy to present the first time in front of men. So we are trying to support them for the first time to present in front of women, till they believe in themselves and, they build that trust, so they can, let me say, succeed then in presenting in front of different communities. So this is what we are, have been trying recently to do, because we need to do like some balance, some diversity when it comes to empowering women. I said, women are already empowered, alhamdulillah, but they just need to trust themselves. Because, for example, in our, let me say, culture, we are always, treated as something valuable, but we just stated we are the ones who are making these barriers. So when
Yeah.
Layla and Yasmin are succeeding, we need just to be like a role model for the other women and say, you can also succeed. We succeeded, you can also succeed. So this is one of the things that, we are also launching, and hopefully that we can also launch Women Future City soon, inshallah, in Algeria, because we just started in 3 countries this year: Oman, Bahrain, Jordan, and we are going to expand it, inshallah, the next year with more countries. And it's not just about, technology, because when I say future cities, because most of the, let me say, people, when I say people, it's not just about the woman, because I know some men who are lacking also the leadership skills when it comes to the communication, negotiation. So in order to be leaders in technology sector, sustainability sector, or any other, let me say, sectors, they have first to build their communication skills, leadership skills, and other skills. That's why we are, focusing in other skills, because for me, the smart city is not about technology. It's about how I'll be able, to provide a city or a community for the people, so they can live there feeling secured, safe, and happily. Thank you
I
so
have a
much, Yasmin. I really enjoyed, chatting with you, and I hope, hopefully, inshallah, one day we're gonna meet face to face. So, anyone
inshallah.
want to
This
ask any question? You can ask. You don't have. We're gonna, summarize our, event. Thank you so much, Yasmin. I really enjoyed chatting with you. So, where are you based now, Yasmin? Where are you exactly now?
I live in London, and I live in
In
London.
London.
Yeah, I live in London. I travel extensively for work as my role as the co-president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. And again,
Mhm.
I believe that we don't need diversity and inclusion. We need just to recognize the woman value because I don't want the job because I'm a woman. I want the job because I am capable of doing it better than someone else. It can be a guy or it can be another woman. That's what I keep saying. And we need to have more women. That's why when I started my workshop, I said, whenever I have a request from a woman asking me to run a workshop, I will always say yes to that. Because from my perspective, we don't have enough women and we don't have enough Arab and Muslim women to kind of showcase as a role model. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to develop your soft skills, as Leila was mentioning earlier, because you may be the smartest person in the room, but if you do not articulate, if you don't communicate, or if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will believe in you. The American movies that, they're gonna pick you up because they've seen something out of it, doesn't work. This is like, you have to work for yourself. You have to fight for yourself. You have to hustle for yourself. You have to go and learn. And nothing comes easy, guys. As a woman and as a human being, I mean, I had to learn things. I had to de-learn things, like a computer, deinstall something and reinstall something else, because I came with some beliefs, with some perception. I have to change them, and I have to kind of re-understand how things are working and kind of open my mind, because I can tell you from my own career, I went all the way through to be a VP, like let's say, after the CEO, there is me, talking to him directly, like, one of the biggest companies. And basically, when I kind of quit, I was like, I need something that challenged me. When I start in a new industry, I start from the bottom. I didn't say, oh, I came from a big position, I'm a VP. I'd never said that. I was like, okay, so what is that? How do you call it? How do you write the models? What's the mapping around it? So, and I did the work like any student will start today. And I was not afraid, and people were like, but you are, they are only the juniors here. And I'm like, I don't care, because I want to learn something new. I want to challenge myself. Imagine staying in the same position for 20, 30 years. I don't learn. You feel like your brain is kind of doing the routine every day. That kills you. If you're at this stage, that kills you. If you want to grow your mind, keep learning, keep discovering things, and never be afraid of asking or saying, I don't know. Because as I am today, as a friend of mine who I left in my previous job, when they've seen recently one of the articles that mentioned me in Forbes, they were like, oh my God, seriously, you again there? And I'm like, yeah. And this is the beauty of you. You never kind of like stop. You keep always doing. I'm like, yeah. I read, I keep reading, I listen to people, I kind of interact with others, I write my own thought, I challenge people in my industry, changing, shifting, because that's what makes you grow as a person. And that's what kind of also make you build your confidence. Confidence is not built up based on the fake gurus on social media who says, you walk like this, you dress like this. Nobody, if they are C-level like I am, we're going to pick you up very quickly, like you're a fake person. But what makes you, what you are confident is you master your topic. My strength, and I can tell you today, is I can turn up, and this is not pretension. I'm a very humble person. But what I'm saying, I can turn up to any conference or any panel anytime now about what I know, if it's blockchain, if it's AI, if it's edtech, product related. I can turn up to any conference, ask me anything, and I will be like, oh yeah, because my brain, I have experienced that. I built up in the past. I keep building this. So I know it like I'm going to the kitchen. I can turn up and, open my fridge and do anything. Same things in work. If you know and you've practiced every day, nothing scares you. So whatever people will ask you, you come into any room, you're not scared or afraid. People will be like, oh my God, that's good. That's how you build up your first step of confidence.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for sharing all of this advice. And I'm sure we're going to have like more women who are going to be just similar to Yasmin. And, I would like to have also a kind reminder for everyone to fill the survey. And I know that some of you just joined very late. So I need to tell you that we are recording this session. So you can go back to the session in our channels at YouTube C3 advisory. So this is, a learning platform where you can invest in yourself, go back again and listen. Because as you said, Yasmin, it's all about us, how we are really investing ourselves. The time, we should manage it. And the learning is everywhere. And your learning, we're gonna, keep it sustainable so everyone can go back to the platform, so they can go back to your content and learn from you and learn from the other, let me say, sessions that we have hosted recently. And hopefully we can see you, inshallah, also soon in Oman to host you physically one day. And I'm very
With
much optimistic
pleasure.
about that,
With
inshallah.
pleasure.
And
I
we
think
also, by
someone
the way,
has
having, yes,
their hands up because we are
yes.
Waher Abdulaziz.
Yes, thank you for this great informative session. Yasmina, you are truly inspiring. I am a software developer student and I am very interested in blockchain and AI. You have mentioned the importance of soft skills and motivation. What would you recommend as the next step on the technical side? Like, what are the specific area and skills I need to focus to build a career, like my career in this field?
Thank you so much, Jawahir, and thank you for the kind word, and well done for getting to the first step in terms of the development. And I would probably say to build up a strong career, I would recommend three things. The first one is to go into a few universities. Curriculum, check what they're doing versus what your current university is offering, benchmark or compare, do like a comparative aspect, because development in technology means a lot of things. So developing in blockchain is not the same thing as developing in AI. And when we talk about AI, is it modeling the LLM? Is it modeling the AI's agent itself? So you have few things. So my first things is go compare what's going on already, what is trendy versus what kind of is more like traditionally the foundation. That's from the perspective of the knowledge itself. The second part, when you're referring to the soft skills, I would probably recommend to take some soft skills courses. You do have Franklin Covey's, Dell's, many are available. I would recommend to take public speaking or teamwork, because that will help you articulate your ideas better, understand better the others when they are talking, and kind of build this leadership, because the leadership does not come from the position they give you. It comes from the way that you work with others. You federate people, you make you make them as a team, and you understand everyone, and you trigger them to work all with you to push what you're looking for. That's what leadership is about. So, and leadership style are different. So that's also something that you want to check on in terms of reading. And I'll probably say also on the third point is just make sure that you are connecting to women network, women in blockchain, women in tech, women in AI, women in the MENA region. Just from like learning from them, their experience, connecting with them, so that maybe from your next step in career, when you're looking for a job, you can ask them for recommendation, or you can ask them for referral, or anything that can be related, because women networks are often very useful. I hope I answered your question, Jawahir.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure. Over to you, Layla.
Okay, so I think it's now time to end this session. Thank you so much, Yasmin. And also, before closing, let me say this session, I would like also to invite you, so you can also submit a written article as part of Smart City Talks, because we have also a newsletter. We are publishing some of the articles under the umbrella of Smart Cities. So gonna reach you if you are also interested, so we can also have one article written by you.
Thank you so much, Leila, for your for the work you're doing for the women and for the workshop you're running. Thank you, everyone, for making it. A big thanks to Safa, who also coordinated all this workshop today. Really enjoyed being here, having this conversation with you, Leila, and hope to see you in physical, in real, inshallah, somewhere in your city, and take this conversation further. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and let us connect on LinkedIn. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you all. See you soon, inshallah.